My name is James Carter. I'm 32 years old, born in Vancouver, raised just outside Seattle, and now living in a quiet part of Maine. On the surface, I'm like anyone else. Good job, decent apartment, a golden retriever named Leo who means more to me than most people ever will. But underneath it all, I carry a memory I've never spoken aloud. This is the story I've never told anyone. Call it, I was walking my dog when she opened the gate and said, "I was waiting for you." It was late September, that kind of evening where summer doesn't want to let go, and autumn is quietly creeping in. The sky a soft pink, the air cool but not yet cold. I was walking Leo down the usual path, past the worn fences, the sleepy maples, and that one old house with the wild garden no one ever seemed to tend. That house had always fascinated me. Overgrown roses, a rusted mailbox, ivy snaking up the bricks. I'd never seen anyone go in or out until that evening. Leo started tugging at his leash, growling low, not like he sensed danger, more like curiosity. And that's when it happened. The wooden gate creaked open, and there she stood, a woman, maybe 30, with auburn hair pulled back loosely, strands falling around her cheeks. She wore a plain white t-shirt tucked into faded jeans, barefoot on the stone path like she belonged to the earth. Her eyes caught the last of the light green, or maybe gray, hard to tell, because they were filled with something deeper than color. Something like knowing. She didn't blink, just smiled faintly and said, "I was waiting for you." I stood frozen. "Sorry, do I know you?" I managed. She stepped out, letting the gate swing closed behind her. "No, but I know you." She looked down at Leo and added, "Your dog's beautiful." I nodded slowly, the leash tightening in my hand. "We were just heading home." But she tilted her head and said, "Don't go yet." Her voice was soft, not pleading, more like an invitation. The kind you say yes to before your brain catches up. I don't know why I followed her into that garden. Maybe it was the way the sun caught her collarbone. Maybe it was the way Leo didn't growl anymore, just walked in like he belonged. We sat at a cracked stone bench under a canopy of grapevine and silence. "I'm Ava," she said finally. "I used to live here when I was a girl. Then things happened, and I left." I looked around the yard, the wild beauty of it. "Looks like no one's touched this place in years." "No one has," she replied. "Until last week. That's when I came back." "Why?" She didn't answer right away, just plucked a small dried grape from the vine, held it between her fingers, then let it fall. "I thought I'd buried some things here," she said. "Turns out they buried me." I didn't know what to say. I didn't need to. Over the next week, I kept walking Leo past her house, and every time she was there, sitting on the porch steps, sometimes barefoot, sometimes with a notebook on her lap. We talked about everything. Her love of jazz, my frustration with corporate life, her years living in London, my failure to save my younger brother from addiction. She never asked too many questions, just listened like no one else ever had. I asked her once, "What do you do for work?" She smiled without teeth. "I'm in between things." "You mean jobs?" "No, people." One evening, I brought her coffee. She invited me inside. The house smelled like lavender and something older, like forgotten paper or memories. She showed me a room filled with canvases, paintings of shadows, tangled trees, faceless lovers. "A therapist once told me to paint my grief," she said. "And did it help?" "No," she said, "but it gave the pain somewhere to live." As days turned into nights, we fell into something too real to call casual and too fragile to name love. But it was there. In the way she poured my tea, in the way she whispered "stay" when I stood to leave, in the way Leo rested his head on her lap like he'd known her forever. But something was off. She never used her phone. She never left the house. Her mailbox was full of unopened letters. And she never spoke about her family, not even once. So one night I asked, "Where is your family now?" She looked at me, her eyes suddenly older than her face. "Gone," she said. "How?" She traced her finger along the edge of her teacup. "They think I died." I laughed. "That's dark." But she didn't laugh back. That night, When I got home, I Googled her name, Ava Lorraine Sutter, and what I found nearly made me drop my phone. A news article from 7 years ago. Local artist missing after mysterious disappearance. House left abandoned. Authorities suspect suicide. Same name, same house, same eyes in the photo. But the article ended with something chilling. Her body was never found. My hands trembled. I remembered her words. They think I died. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling while Leo shifted restlessly at my feet. The shadows in the room felt heavier, like something was pressing down on me, something more than fear. It was disbelief, confusion, a slow unraveling of reality. The next morning, I returned to Ava's house. She was in the garden, barefoot again, brushing dew off the leaves with her fingers like she'd never left. I stood there a moment watching her from the sidewalk. When she noticed me, she smiled, that same soft, mysterious smile. But now it felt wrong, like a performance I hadn't noticed before. I stepped forward. Ava, I need to ask you something. She kept brushing the vines, not looking at me. You searched me, didn't you? The blood drained from my face. How did you? She turned to me slowly. Everyone does. Eventually. I found the article, I said. They think you're dead. Ava. They searched for your body. Her eyes darkened, but her expression stayed calm. And what did you think? That I was a ghost? That I came back from the dead to seduce a man walking his dog? I don't know what to think, I said, my voice low. I just know I need the truth. A long silence passed between us. Then she nodded toward the bench. Sit down, she said, and I'll tell you what no one else knows. We sat. She took a long breath. Her hands trembled slightly. I didn't die, James, but I did disappear. She paused, then began. I was in love, head over heels kind of love. His name was Evan. We met in college, moved in together after graduation, built a life. This house was our dream. We renovated every room, planted every vine. But there were things I didn't see, or maybe didn't want to. Her voice broke, but she continued. He was charming, generous, but controlling. Slowly, so slowly, I stopped seeing friends. I stopped painting. I stopped living. She closed her eyes. One night, I found messages, dozens, between him and my younger sister. And not just messages. I clenched my jaw, my fists tightening unconsciously. When I confronted them, they twisted it, said I was unstable, that I'd always been jealous. Then one morning, I woke up and everything was gone. My bank account emptied, my name on the house erased. They reported me missing. I stared at her, speechless. I walked away from everything, she said. No money, no ID. I went off the grid for 7 years. London, Scotland, therapy groups, art collectives. I lived half a life. Then I came back. To what? To face it. To see if I still existed. We sat in silence, birds chirping like the world hadn't heard her story. I finally said, and now? She looked at me. I'm trying to find out if I still know how to trust, how to be touched without flinching, how to be loved without disappearing. That night I kissed her. It was gentle, careful, like holding something that might fall apart in your hands. She kissed me back like someone coming up for air after being underwater too long. We started seeing each other daily. Slowly, the wounds in her eyes softened. She started painting again, brighter things. Hands reaching, light breaking through trees. And then one Friday, I left work early and surprised her. That's when I saw it. She was in the back room, standing by the window, talking to a man. I froze outside the doorway. I couldn't hear much, just his voice, low and sharp. Her voice was softer, but strained. When I stepped in, he turned, and I recognized him immediately. Evan, from the photo in the article. Her ex, the one who destroyed her. He smiled at me, cold, confident. I was just saying hello, he said. Didn't know Ava had company. She looked shaken but stood her ground. James, he came uninvited. Evan's eyes narrowed. You two playing house in the ruins now? Cute. I stepped forward. You need to leave. Now. He looked me up and down. Another dog walker? She has a type. I moved closer. If you don't leave this property in the next 10 seconds, I'm calling the cops. His smile cracked. Be careful, James. You don't know her like I do. And then he was gone. I turned to her. Why was he here? She looked like she might collapse. He's been sending letters, calling from blocked numbers. I didn't want to tell you. I didn't want you to leave too. Why would I leave? Because people do. That night, we sat on the porch holding hands, both too tired to speak. Leo rested at our feet. In the silence, I realized something terrifying. I was falling in love with a woman whose past could still destroy her, and maybe me too. A week later, Ava disappeared. The front gate was open, the house unlocked. Leo whined and paced the porch like he knew something was wrong. Her paintings were still there, her clothes. Even the tea she'd poured that morning sat cold on the table. But Ava was gone, and that's where the story should have ended. But it didn't, because 5 months later I got a package. No return address. Inside, a sketch of me and Leo sitting on the garden bench. A note, some people aren't meant to be found, but you made me feel found, even for a little while. Thank you. I must have read that note 100 times. Some people aren't meant to be found, but you made me feel found, even for a little while. It hit like a soft dagger, quiet, but deep. I didn't cry right away. I just sat there, fingers trembling, Leo's head resting on my knee like he knew grief had just walked in the door. Weeks passed. I searched again, hospitals, shelters, local police reports. No Ava, no leads. I even drove to the coastal towns she'd once mentioned, thinking maybe she'd return to the sea, to paint, to vanish in a place where the waves didn't ask questions. But I never found her. What I did find, though, was her art. Quietly, anonymously, her paintings began appearing online. Under the name Arden Vale, I knew it was her. The brushstrokes, the colors, the shadows. One in particular stopped me cold. A man holding a leash, a dog at his feet, a woman behind a gate, fading into light. She'd painted us. Years passed. I moved cities, switched jobs. Life, as it tends to do, moved forward even when your heart wants to stay in one moment forever. But I never forgot her. Not the way she looked at me, like I was the only real thing in a world that had betrayed her. Not the way she whispered, stay, like the word itself was fragile. And not the way she left, silently, carefully, like a ghost who didn't want to haunt, just wanted to disappear kindly. Sometimes, I still walk Leo past an old garden gate. Not her gate. That house is gone now, sold, stripped, repainted into someone else's life. But the idea of her still stands behind every fence I pass. Still waiting, still out there. People ask me sometimes why I never settled down. Why I live alone with a dog and too many books. I just smile and say, some people only get one real story, one that changes everything. And if they push, I say something lighter like, she had wild vines in her yard, and eyes that made you forget what season it was. But what I never say, what I can't say, is this. Ava taught me that love isn't always meant to last forever. Sometimes it's just meant to wake you up. To show you who you are when you're seen, really seen for the first time. And sometimes that's enough. We live in a world obsessed with forever. We want every love to be lifelong, every ending to tie up neatly. But not all stories are meant to end in togetherness. Some are meant to remind you that you are still capable of feeling, of risking, of hoping, even after you've been broken. Ava didn't save me. She didn't stay. But she gave me back something I didn't know I'd lost. The ability to love without fear. And that stays with me forever.